What's up, y'all? My name is Aaron Mallory, aka Mr. Let Go, and today we're about to have an in-depth conversation about why so many black families are full of women. Let's get it. And you start to look at your family and you start to see something, and then you go around your friend's family, right? You know, your friend, your best friend, you see her family, right? Then you start looking at other people's families and you're like, yo, why is all of our families full of women? Where are all the men in all of our families? The way a lot of women have been raised is that you don't let no man tell you what to do, and give a man sex and food if you want to keep him. That's really it. Most of us, because I was raised by a single woman also, our mothers couldn't teach us anything because our mothers were lost. They can't see. The problem is, there's a thing. There's this thing out here, and it's like when you add this thing to something else, it makes it great. And that thing, it's a father. It's a man. See, a lot of you have grown up without a father, and you're able to have a job. You're able to drive a car, right? You're able to do certain things, but since you do not have a father because your mama couldn't keep a man, you did not have something that would have made you better. So this is you as a person who was raised without a father, right? Okay, it's cool. You know, it's whatever. You know, the sound quality is okay. You know what I'm saying? Nice little microphone. But there are certain people out here who were raised with a father, and they had something like this. And this mixed with this made that person great. But without this, you're subpar. And I think this is one of the problems with black people. We have been living our lives just, raised by single mothers with no father. And now we all are subpar. Most of us like straight suck. But since your friend sucks also, and your coworker sucks also because they can't find no man, they can't keep no man, they got anger issues. Also, they feel like being subpar is okay. So when you're surrounded by all these fatherless, subpar individuals, men and women, you start thinking that that's okay. And it's not. It is not okay. Because what is happening is when you go through life not realizing the reason why you're so messed up in the head emotionally is because you were missing something. A father, which is this mixed with, this, you actually look at your life like, all right, it's, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's missing, but my friend has this same emotional issue. Your ex-boyfriend has this same emotional issue. Your aunt had this same emotional issue. Your uncle had this same emotional issue. So apparently this emotional issue, this void I have in my life, it must be okay. Right? But then you see all these people on TV, because nobody in your neighborhood had a father, right? But you see all these people on TV and they seem to be happy. You see people on social media, they're happy. And you're like, wow, I wish I was like them. I wish it was something that like I had to get me to there. And the thing about it is you had that, but He did not stick around. That person's father stuck around. And because that person had a mother and a father, they don't have this emotional void. Now, some people with mothers and fathers do have emotional voids. But what I'm saying is this lack of a father, this single mother crap has gotten so normalized where nobody has a dad. And now we're just going through life screwed up in the head, thinking being screwed up in the head is okay because everybody around us is screwed up in the head. And you know what the byproduct of that is? This is the biggest thing. You turn around and do the same thing to your kid. You do the same freaking thing your mom did to you, to your child. Because a lot of your kids, they don't have a dad either. But how is that? Why is that? How is it that the one thing you feel like you wish you had, a father, you have this void in your life, right? And as time goes by, you start to figure out like, okay, this void that I have, this like evolving anger that I have towards men, you as a woman, it's coming from the fact that you don't have a father. And it's coming from the fact that you don't know who to be angry at. Because this is the breakdown right here. When you're young, you don't have a father, right? And you get to the point where you get around your aunties and you talk to your mom, you talk to the women in your family, and you start to look at your family and you start to see something. And then you go around your friend's family, right? Your friend, your best friend, you see her family, right? Then you start looking at other people's families and you're like, yo, why is all of our families full of women? Where are all the men in all of our families? Let's do this. Put a hand emoji up if your family is 90% women. Put a hand emoji up if your family is 90% women. So you start looking around like, why are all of our families like full of women? Where are all the men? Because this is the problem. And then you actually get bold enough to ask your auntie, where's my uncle? Oh, he ain't worth nothing. Oh, okay. Then you ask your mama, Mama, where's dad? Why didn't it work out with you and daddy? She's not going to tell you that we were having sex and we were just hanging out and we weren't using protection. I did not guard my gate. And one day I told him I was pregnant and out of nowhere he decided to choom. She's not going to embarrass herself by saying that. Auntie is not going to say that. Your cousin, your grown cousin isn't going to say that. But that's what happened. All they're going to say is, oh, because he wasn't about nothing. Because he didn't want to be, just making up all this bull crap. In other words, blaming him, right? So you go through your life, your young life, hearing every woman use this stupid excuse why they had a kid and the man just magically disappeared. Nobody's married at all, right? And what happens is when you're grown, you start to have this weird dichotomy, right? You want a boyfriend really because your friends have boyfriends and boyfriends are cool. And you start to feel like, all right, having a boyfriend makes me feel less insecure. And you start feeling like I have a certain amount of inadequacy when I don't have a boyfriend. You always heard of that girl, or you may have been that girl who was just like, oh, I keep a man. You ever heard of the girl who said, oh, I keep a man. I always keep a man. Because she needs a man to in order to just to feel adequate, right? So going through high school, you getting older, whatever, you find you cute, you keep a man, right? And you get a certain amount of positive attention when you have a boyfriend. But what ends up happening is you don't really respect the man as a person. This man is literally like a Gucci bag or something. When you walk into a room and you have this nice high price Gucci bag on your shoulder or whatever, you kind of like feel a little good about yourself, right? And the other women feel inadequate because they don't have this designer bag, right? Well, the same thing goes with having a boyfriend. When you have a boyfriend, you feel good about yourself, and the other women kind of envy you, just like with the expensive bag, right? But like I said, the problem is a man is a person and not a bag. He's not a thing. So you don't have to understand a Gucci bag because it's an inanimate object. But having a man, having a boyfriend, you have to take some time somewhere to understand what men think, how men think, what men do, what men want, what men don't want, and what you don't want, and what you do want. But you don't do any of that because, one, there's no men in your life. There's no uncles. There's no dads. You might have a brother, but your brother didn't know too much. So your brother probably made you tough by like picking on you or whatever, but he wasn't necessarily able to teach you a lot unless he was your older brother. You got 3, 4 brothers or whatever. But overall, a lot of you grew up without any type of male in your life. And what ends up happening is you start hearing all these different things about how these men ain't this, these men ain't that, because they all leave the women because they're not going to tell you is their stupid, nasty attitudes. They're not going to tell you that part. The women, they're just going to blame the men for not being nothing, right? So this happens. So now you got your own boyfriend and your boyfriend just doesn't want to act right. And this is what's funny about a man not acting right. Most of you don't even know what you want. I'll say that again. Most of you don't even know what you want. So if you don't know what you want, you can't tell a man what you want from him. So you just, like I said, you're just with a man just because you happy that you got a man because it makes you feel a little bit more adequate, as a woman. But the thing about it is, he does stuff that you don't like. Why? Because he's simply a different person. Your homegirl did stuff that you didn't like also because she's a different person. But you don't need your homegirl to act right because you don't have her on your arm like the Gucci purse. So when a man doesn't act right, even though you don't know what the heck you want him to do, you start having problems with the guy. And you start adopting the mindset of your aunties and your mama and your cousins. You ain't this, you ain't that. See, this is what this is a problem. Da 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 da. You start complaining because when it was a man around at some point before they ran him off, they complained to him and emasculated the man. You know what I'm saying? You said how we fix that. I'm getting to that. I'm glad you said that. So what ends up happening is, as a grown woman, you're stuck in this dichotomy of, I don't trust men because you were taught in your mind that men ain't worth nothing and they're going to leave you. So you have abandonment issues because your dad left you. You have abandonment issues. So you also want a man because you're supposed to have one. You want to get married because you're supposed to get married, right? But you don't know what all of this stuff is. And you end up just simply having a man. And the way your mama taught you to keep a man is to give him food and sex, chicken and, sex and chicken, right? So you get to a point where you don't know how to keep a man. You just give him sex and food, sex and food, sex and food, sex and food. And it doesn't work because he's a person. He wants to be understood just like you want to be understood. And you get to a point where you just can't get along with a man because the one thing you were not told, one thing you were not taught is that a man is meant to lead you. See, virtually every last one of you are lost unless you have a man. I'll say that again. Virtually every last one of you are lost, completely lost, unless you have a man. And this is the problem. You're in this world and you're completely lost and you just don't know why. You don't know why everything seems so difficult. Everything in your life is so difficult and you don't know why. It's because that you're not being led and you're not being covered by a man. And I'm not saying you can't survive without a man, but to a certain degree, you can't survive without a man. That's biblical, but I don't want to go through all that, A man is meant to lead you, but your mom, your aunties, and your older cousins did not teach you that. They did not teach you what a man is supposed to do. So when a man comes into your life and you just looking at him like a Gucci bag, like, ooh, look at me, I got a man. Ooh, I got a new boo. All your coworkers like, ooh, you got a new boo. But the second this man comes in and actually starts trying to lead you, you're looking at him like, you don't tell me what to do. What's wrong with you? Da, 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 da. You start acting like your auntie. You start acting like your mom. Blah, 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 blah. And the man leaves. And the only thing you can think is my mama was right. My auntie was right. These men ain't nothing. And then you back by yourself, back lost, forgetting stuff, dropping your phone. See, dropping your phone all the time is an example of being lost. And you might say, what? Dropping my phone? I want you to think about this. How can you continue to drop something that you always have in your hand? Y'all drop y'all phones literally like once a week. And tell me if I'm wrong. Men don't drop their phones because we're not lost.